Big changes coming to the Department of Corrections in New Jersey and in New York. In New Jersey, after a lot of pressure from the ACLU, the Department of Corrections reversed a ban on certain books discussing racial discrimination as they relate to what they term mass incarceration. And in New York, they're changing the rules with a pilot program on how inmates receive packages. For all the details, let's check in with our own John Shumo. John, what's the story?
Bill, it's an effort to keep weapons and drugs out of prisons and jails. It's a noble effort, but does it go too far? The New York State Department of Corrections is trying a pilot program that changes the way inmates receive care packages from the outside. In the past, families could buy food from local stores and ship it to the prison or jail. It would be inspected and then delivered to the inmate. Now, the state DOC wants every item to come from one of 6 pre-approved vendors. There are problems. Inmate advocates say there aren't a whole lot of choices for the food options. The prices, in some cases, are higher at the e-commissary than they are at the local store. And then also, initially, the selection of books was very limited, but the DOC backed down on that, added a 6th vendor with a wider selection of books. There is an online petition circulating right now in an effort to stop this from happening. It has some 3,000 signatures. And critics say, hey, just do a better job screening the packages and you'll be just fine. Also of note, as you mentioned, Bill, in New Jersey, score a win for the ACLU in its fight to reverse a ban on a best-selling book. Officials at 2 prisons in New Jersey didn't want inmates getting their hands on a copy of The New Jim Crow by Michelle Alexander. The book traces how the war on drugs became a way to find discrimination and a way to unfairly send men of color to prison. That's according to the book. Prisons and jails, of course, can ban certain reading materials if they think it's going to cause a problem with an inmate. But after the ACLU started poking around, New Jersey prison officials backed down and said that book does no longer pose a threat. Bill, back to you.
Okay, thank you, John. Let's bring back our A-plus panel to talk about this. Frank, I'm going to start with you. I think on one side, I side with the ACLU in New Jersey. I don't think there's any reason to ban a book. That said, what New York is doing seems way over the top.
Book banning is definitely a tough conversation to have, and I agree with you on that. I think anytime we're talking about what's going on in these prisons, I side on whatever is going to make the job for the corrections officers safest.
But Jeanette, so they're screening the packages now, pre-approved vendors? This sounds like political corruption at its highest. No. Who owns these companies? How'd they get the deal?
That's a good point, but I do agree in theory that we need to make our prisons as safe as possible for our corrections officers. And let's not forget, if you're an inmate, you've gone to prison and you've lost some of your rights. That's what prison's all about. However, you do bring up a very good point, Bill. What companies are they? Who owns them? Who's profiting? Are they, making money off of the families of inmates? I'm not really sure.
Bill, let me ask you, advocates for inmates will say that it's the correction officers who have the problem, that you can't get this stuff smuggled in unless you got somebody working on the inside.
Listen, I was going to get to that point because I think it's an important one, but I'll make this one too. This is in summer camp. This is prison, right? So, the care package issue is a sensitive one. But that said, it's not necessarily just the prisoners we're talking about. It's the families at home. And they're the ones that they're going to have the financial burden now to have this added cost. But to your point, corrections officers have been found, in some cases, to be smuggling contraband, narcotics, and the like.
There have been cases right here in New Jersey.
And allowing it to go on. Sure. So if we're going to go after this, then let's go after it. I'm not sure what we're trying to solve here is necessarily fixing the problem.
Well, most of these corrections departments in New Jersey and New York, you've got upstanding, outstanding
without question.
Absolutely.
Without question.
And you've got a couple bad seeds.
That's what happens.
And then you
this
go after
doesn't
them.
solve that.
Not in the least bit.
Right?
Not in the least bit.
No, but if it makes the prison safer, if there are instances of knives getting smuggled in, from families, then I'm all for it, Bill. I mean, it's really for the prisoner's own protection.
All right. Leave it there. Thanks.